What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here, and today we are going to be discussing whether or not auto rifles are finally good in Destiny's PvP. Now, auto rifles have had a very interesting history within the Crucible. At one point, when the game first launched, they were one of arguably the best gun type you could use. However, because of this, they were the recipients of a massive nerf, and they have been kind of delegated to the sidelines ever since. There has certainly been times where certain archetypes, especially the fast-firing Doctrine of Passing archetypes, did see a lot of play, but those also encountered nerfs because of it. So auto rifles, although there's no reason you certainly couldn't use them and even sometimes do well with them, and some people did still like them, as a whole they were definitely not seeing the most play. However, the most recent patch with Hotfix 2.5.0.2 looked to rectify this. So, did it work? Are auto rifles finally usable, finally competitive? Well, let's talk about it. Now guys, remember, if you enjoy this content and want to see more, please remember to support it by liking, commenting, and especially sharing. It's a simple thing to do, but it really helps me out. So, auto rifles. We need to discuss what happened to them in two big factors. Firstly, the actual buffs they received in the most recent patch and how that affected them, but also the buffs and nerfs to the other guns competing with auto rifles to see whether or not auto rifles have kind of found a new niche. Now, in terms of the buffs auto rifles just received, firstly, all of them got an increase to in-air accuracy. This means that if you're jumping through the air and you're engaging a target, your bullets now have a better chance to actually hit that target. This is a great thing because auto rifles usually demand a more aggressive playstyle because of their relatively low range statistics. You're going to have to be decently close to your enemies in order to be hitting those optimal damage values, and therefore you're likely going to want to be playing aggressively. Jumping in the air and confusing your opponents is a great way to do this, and players will naturally do this when they are playing aggressively. So boosting in-air accuracy is a big deal, and it's a great asset that auto rifles now have. Further than that, all auto rifles got an increase to their headshot damage. This was achieved through increasing the headshot multiplier on auto rifles. Previously, it was 1.25 times, and now it's 1.3 times. You will see this effect actually show up in all of the auto rifles. They're all doing more headshot damage. And although that might seem on the surface like a very good thing, it may not be that simple, and actually it affects the different archetypes pretty drastically. Firstly, let's start off on one end of the spectrum with the very fast shooting auto rifles, the Doctrine of Passing archetype. The interesting thing about these auto rifles is that yes, they are doing more headshot damage, 15 now, and Bungie did admit that they're going to kill in one shot sooner. However, this doesn't affect them that much because you're not likely getting all headshots with the most inaccurate auto rifle category. These auto rifles were good in the past because they had great body shot damage time to kill. So if you got all body shots, you'd still get a competitive time to kill. This made them great up close when it's hard to get every single shot to the head. However, when they were competitive, they were nerfed by 6%, a 6% damage reduction across the board. This nerf has yet to been fully made up for even with this new headshot buff. So these, although they are better because of in-air accuracy, are not getting a super huge effect because of that increase to headshot damage. Moving on, we have the medium rate of fire auto rifles. These will now do 21 damage to the head, whereas previously they did 20 damage to the head for their maximum damage potentials. This again seems kind of good. They're doing literally more damage, but it's not as good as you may think. And the reason being is because usually you're trying to achieve 200 damage with your weapons, and that's because on most occasions, the enemy you're fighting in the Crucible will have 200 health. There are definitely factors that will change this, like the Ram exotic helmet for the Warlock and so on, but again, usually 200 health, reaching that goal is a great kind of milestone for where you want your damages to be, what you want your weapons to do. And the fact is, these auto rifles were doing 20 damage, which means that increasing them to 21 is not going to make them kill in any less number of shots. So their time to kills are pretty much unaffected by this increased damage. Therefore, they didn't really get a huge bonus from this buff. They're more consistent, but they aren't actually killing faster. What did get a huge buff, and this is partially due to another asset that they got from the new patch, which is that the slow shooting auto rifles got a bonus to base damage as well. So they're getting an increase to base damage and getting an increased headshot damage. This is a big deal. Firstly, normally now when you shoot an enemy in the head, they're going to do 27 damage. This overall is a decent number. I think before they did 25. Again, it's that 200 damage debacle though. Increasing them to 27 doesn't actually make them kill in a shot faster. It's kind of it is a nice number to see when it pops up, and it does make them more consistent, again, if you're mixing in buy shots and stuff, but it doesn't actually make them that much more deadly. However, what did make them a lot more deadly is with focused fire. Focus fire before the patch, and I was very curious to see this, so I actually tested it before the patch, it did 33 damage. 33 damage to the head. You'll notice 99 and 99, we're not getting to 200 yet, and there's some inconsistencies there. Now they're doing 36 damage. They are killing in one shot faster against a lot of opponents. And again, 36 damage from 33 damage is a pretty decent increase, and that is going to make them, again, as you discussed before, more consistent if you're getting buy shots as well. So these, the focus fire auto rifles, are actually killing in one shot less in some scenarios, and are getting the benefit of consistency as well with the overall damage bonus. This is what's making probably the key auto rifle that's kind of breaking free. One of the best auto rifles to use now, the Suros Regime, is getting a chance to shine. You're going to see that in the background gameplay a lot. This is a very consistent, very powerful auto rifle to use right now. Firstly, it's getting the benefit of being able to have that focused fire damage increase. And on top of that, the way this auto rifle works, it does more damage as the magazine gets lower. And I have done up to, I'm not even kidding, like 58 damage per shot for like the last few rounds in a magazine. 58 damage! That's like a freaking scout rifle. That's like a hand cannon from an auto rifle. Now granted, yes, you're going to do 58 damage and then you're going to literally have to reload your gun, but still, these are very high damage values. And these high damage values of the Suros Regime, and actually any other focused fire auto rifle that has the benefit of a damage increasing perk, are going to get the additional benefit of magnification. You get these damage bonuses, and you get more damage bonuses that make them more extreme. For example, if you're getting the damage bonus from a normal shot, you get the increase of the base damage, of course, then you get the increase of the headshot multiplier from 0.25 to 0.3. You get a little bit of a damage bonus there. The important part, and why, this will all make sense now, is that if you're already getting another damage bonus, let's say you're getting a damage bonus from the glass half full perk, let's say you're getting a damage bonus from the crowd control perk, that new damage, that already increasing damage, is going to be increased by a greater magnitude because it's increased by a better headshot multiplier. So you're now getting more damage on more damage on more damage. Every single perk that increases damage is now going to increase it by an even greater magnitude because of the other bonuses that they've just incurred with this new patch. Again, that's a little bit complicated, but essentially what it means is that auto rifles now have the capability of doing much more damage than they previously were. Now, these bonuses are all combined with the second big factor to auto rifles, which is, as I mentioned earlier, the nerfs to the other archetypes and weapon types in Destiny that may have opened up some new categories and new playability aspects for auto rifles. Firstly, they pretty substantially nerfed the fast-firing pulse rifles, the Clever Dragon and the Grasp of Malak specifically. Actually, now if you have a good waltz like I do, that's become quite good because it didn't get a magazine size reduction, just kind of throwing that in there. But in any event, those are much worse. Their flinch is much worse, they have much lower magazine sizes, and they actually have a lower time to kill because they have a lower rate of fire now. So those pulse rifles, because they were shooting very fast, they had a pretty big chunk of the closer engagement categories. If you were finding yourself in pretty much what is optimal auto rifle range before, but you had a Clever Dragon, that Clever Dragon would function very well. Like, it's not like the Clever Dragon was only good at medium range. That thing could melt in even close auto rifle ranges, and that did kind of push out auto rifles, right? You have a gun that can compete in auto rifle ranges and also competes past auto rifle ranges. But now with those nerfs, you've kind of opened up some areas for auto rifles to compete in. Another huge factor and a huge boon for auto rifles is the fact that shotguns are nerfed just by themselves, and the special ammo economy. Before, when using an auto rifle, those prime auto rifle ranges where you were getting your max damage, those were also literally the same as your prime shotgun and fusion rifle ranges, right? So you were competing with weapons that could kill instantaneously. It's very hard to kill your opponent with a fusion rifle before they can just, get that charge off and hit you with a bolt of wizard or whatever they're using. And it's very hard to kill an opponent with an auto rifle while they just slide closer with their matador and plug you, instantly killing you. But now, since there's a lot less special weapon usage, auto rifles are now free to compete and free to function in those closer range engagements where previously special weapons completely pushed them out of. Their one main competitor now is with sidearms, definitely, and sidearms are still very good in those auto rifle ranges, but they don't have as much competition, and sidearms aren't instant kill weapons like shotguns are. So these two factors, firstly the outright buffs to auto rifles specifically, and also the nerfs to the other gun types very much competing with auto rifles, have definitely made auto rifles a lot better in PvP. But are they finally good? Are they actually competitive? Well, I'd say that still remains to be seen. I think they're definitely better than they were, and if you want to use an auto rifle, this is probably the best time to use one in a very long time. With that being said, there's still very powerful competitors of the auto rifles. The Hawksaw archetype. Hand cannons now are extremely consistent because of their first shot accuracy bonus that they've got going on now. And so auto rifles still, if you actually look at the history of the buffs and nerfs, they're still well behind where they were once dominant. So don't expect auto rifles to now become the kings again. I would say that they're now definitely more competitive. You can now use an auto rifle and do well. In fact, I would say, although I'm being kind of conservative with my judgment of auto rifles as a whole, I would go out and say that the Soros regime is legitimately competitive. I've been using that weapon. I've been having a lot of good success with it. It does massive damage when you're getting the second half of the magazine bonus. It's a very consistent weapon. It may not kill as fast, especially as the hand cannons, and if you're versing some very talented players with hand cannons, you may have some trouble, but it is so consistent. If they miss a hand cannon shot, and it is easy to miss when you're getting plugged with a Soros in the head, you do have an advantage there. It's a very fantastic weapon. Get out your Soros regimes, try them out. They are quite powerful. So in total, I think that this is a step in the right direction. Auto rifles are better, but I don't think they're quite at the place they need to be. I would love some damage bonuses for the other archetypes to just make them more consistent, especially for the fast-firing archetype, just so it regains that one main benefit it had, which was that good body shot time to kill. And also, it is kind of frustrating to look at how auto rifles are built just at a perks and statistics perspective, because auto rifles are inherently inaccurate. It seems that they constantly spawn with extremely low stability values and rarely have decent range values as well. And then you have to get like god rolls in order to actually have a competitive version. You need to improve its stability by getting stuff like counterbalance, by getting stuff like brace frame, etc. And then also, when you can, get every ounce of range as well, because the range values aren't great either. Auto rifle base statistics, I think, should be improved. Just increase the ranges perhaps a little bit, but especially the stability, just to give players more of a chance to go for other perks. It would be great to actually be able to look for perks that increase the range perhaps, instead of having to calm down that stability, especially for the faster firing archetypes. So that is definitely the direction I'd like to see Bungie take auto rifles in the future. But for now, they've made, again, a good step in the right direction. So dust off your auto rifles, they're better, but are you going to be using them all the time in Trials of Osiris against people going absolute dick hard with their Isalunas? I don't exactly know. hand cannons are in a great place right now, and they kill faster than auto rifles by a pretty big margin. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it informative, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button, and if you actually want to be notified of new uploads, be sure to press the bell beside subscribe. Now, if you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.